Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Wednesday, December 18. Montreal is still buzzing after Patrik Laine's hat trick versus the Buffalo Sabres. All 3 goals scored on the power play. Patrik Laine makes history, Montreal Canadiens history, that is. He enters the record books because his first 6 goals as a Hab have all come on the power play. Isn't that something? His 6 goals have come in 4 games, and the Canadiens have won all 4 games in which Patrik Laine has scored those 6 goals on the power play. When he doesn't score, they don't win. So look, there's something for you right there. Marinaro, brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Bittt TV. They launched their new Ultra Lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories. 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light and ultra refreshing. And also brought to you in part by Playground. Celebrate 14 incredible years of poker excellence at Playground with their anniversary poker series. Or now until December 16, their series boasts $850,000 in guaranteed prizes, including a $400,000 guaranteed main event. Don't miss your chance to be part of the action. Visit playground.ca for all details. And Souvlaki Authentique, family-operated Greek restaurant, 7 locations, Lachine, Boisbriand, Pierrefonds, just to name a few. They use fresh Quebec chicken, fresh Quebec pork, both hand-cut, marinated in-house. Their gyros hand-stacked, in-house, never frozen, no MSG in any of the recipes. Greek potatoes, not your Yaya's Greek potatoes. They have a unique lemon sauce, and Craig Button can attest to that because when he was in Montreal several months ago, we went to Souvlaki Authentique. Without further ado, let's bring him in. TSN hockey analyst, the director of scouting, Craig Button. How are you?
I'm great, Tony, and yeah, I can attest to Souvlaki Authentique. It was outstanding, and we were at the one in Lachine. It was just wonderful, just wonderful. Everything was wonderful that day.
You know what else was wonderful? What else was wonderful, Craig, was the buzz in the Bell Center last night. Like I was at home because, of course, I podcasted live from my studio here last night at around 10 p.m. with Max Lapierre and Pierre Maguire joining me at the same time. But I have to tell you, I could feel the buzz where I was in LaSalle. And I know people that were at the game last night, and they said it was electric. Now, there's a lot of teams that have done really well versus the Buffalo Sabres this year because they suffered their 11th loss in a row, and we're going to get to them in just a second. But Patrik Laine has come as advertised. We knew that he had a lethal shot. We knew that he was an incredible power play player. We knew that he could score big goals. He hasn't skipped a beat in that respect.
He's healthy physically. He's healthy mentally. And when you think about Patrik from the day he entered the league, he's been an elite goal scorer. And what I'm going to say, having been in the Bell Center, the Montreal Forum, when you get that type of a buzz and you get that type of excitement, and you know it, Tony, you've been there lots tonight. I mean, it's special. It's special. And, you feel it's like skin deep if you're a player. So, when you think about Patrik Laine and what he's done in 7 games playing since coming back from his knee injury, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. Just wait till he's a little bit better. What I would call like game conditioned. Not that he's out of shape or anything, but game conditioned. He'll just become that much more dangerous. And I would say that the love affair with Patrik Laine, the flair that he possesses, the ability that he has to bring people to the edge of their seat and then out of their seat, it's a rare, rare quality, and Patrik has it.
You know, he talked about his game aside from the power play last night after the game. Let's hear Patrik Laine.
I think it was okay. I think it found some holes today, but I think overall, at least for myself, it was kind of an average game. Not in terms of if you take away the goals, like I've had a million times better games than that, and I've had 0 goals. But it's just, on the power play it went in, but outside of that, I would call it a pretty average performance for myself today. But that was enough. So.
Not the first time I hear him say that. He's called his performances awful in the past couple of weeks. He is his own biggest critic, Craig.
One thing, if I was around Patrik, I would say to him, be gentle with yourself, Patrik. It's really good to have, self-awareness and understand where you're at, but also understand that where you've come to be at this point in the season, after the injury you had, where you've come to be at this point in the season, after, going into the player assistance program and finding that level of understanding so that your mental health can be really good. Like, be gentle with yourself, Patrik. That's the only thing. You're terrific. You're having fun. You're having joy in the game. The fans are loving you. Just be gentle with yourself. You don't have to be too hard on yourself, Patrik. You
know what? I can understand that comment because we know that Montreal is a fantastic place to play when things go well. When things don't go well, it's not that fantastic a place to play. The media pressure can get pretty intense here. The fan pressure can get pretty intense. And if he's going to put all that pressure on himself, at one point, it can be overwhelming, I would imagine. I think that's good advice that you're giving him because the pressure is going to come. He doesn't have to put it on himself.
Exactly. And as he pointed out in the interview, he talked about, I've played better games when I had 0 goals. There's going to come a time when you're through a stretch where you're not scoring and you're getting good chances and you are playing well. When, as you point out, Tony, that pressure, the noise ramps up a little bit, and just trying to keep an even balance and even keel is really important. I believe that the biggest challenge that the goaltender Jack Campbell went through, he could never get. Jack Campbell had every quality you would want to have in a goaltender, but everything was his fault. Everything he was letting down the team. He was his harshest critic. He was his second harshest critic. He was his third harshest critic. And I think that it impacted him negatively and affected his NHL career. You don't want to be in that space.
Yeah. Marty St. Louis talked about Patrik Laine's love for the game. Let's hear this.
Starts there. Like we were talking about passion this morning. I think I had to answer the question about Lane. When the players have that love, that passion, they're going to work a lot harder at it. They're going to commit to everything that doesn't guarantee success, but, help go get it and stuff. So to me, it starts there. And we knew, what kind of year he had last year, and obviously the early setback of the season with his injury. But, when you have players with that kind of talent, and you get him loving the game and passionate about it, it's rare that you don't reap the benefit.
So there you have it. Marty St. Louis was asked a question about Lane Hutson's passion for the game earlier in the day, and at the end of the game, he talked about Patrik Laine's passion for the game. And I know Marty has said you can't teach passion.
No, you can't. It's in you. There's lots of different jobs in the world. The most successful people, and I don't care where you're at or what your job is, the most successful people are the ones that have a passion for what they're doing. And that's never going to change.
No.
And as Marty pointed out, he goes, there's no guarantee of success, but when you have that in place, you have a chance to taste success. If you don't, success will be fleeting.
Craig, last night was a bounce back game for Juraj Slafkovsky. He's had a roller coaster season, up and down, up and down, up and down. Considering the way he finished the season last year, the way he played in the second half, I think everyone expected him to pick up where he left off, and he did not. He's bounced around from this line to that line, but for the most part on the top two lines. And now he's back on the top line with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. It seems to have motivated him. He played a more inspiring game on Saturday in Winnipeg. Last night, he was able to get on the board with a goal and an assist. The smile is coming back. What do you make of Slafkovsky that it just seems that if he's not playing with Suzuki and Caufield last year and this year, he struggles?
Well, what I would say is Uri is 20 years of age. Uri is still going through lots of maturity, physical, mental, emotional, and understanding, the different challenges, understanding that players and opponents in the National Hockey League now know what he's capable of doing. They now know that he can be an impact in the game. So this is part of the growth of young players. And we get excited, and we should get excited with what Uri did last year in the last half of the season. But at the same time, we got to keep in mind that they're very young. They're very, very young. And they're not mature yet for the most part. Yeah, we see the odd player that's mature beyond his years, but Uri's just going through the normal course of maturation. And one of the things, and we know this, and we can look at it and go, geez, he only plays good with Suzuki and Caufield. Okay, that's fine. But at the same time, Uri's got to get comfortable understanding, okay, if I'm not playing with those guys, what can I do to help the team? I think Uri's fundamental I guess challenge is just understanding what gives him success. I believe that when he plays the game with the power and the assertiveness, everything else follows. When he tries to bring skill first, he flounders.
In the last 11 or 12 years, the Canadiens have had several players age 18, 19 join them. Galchenyuk was one. Kotkaniemi was another. Juraj Slafkovsky obviously was another. You've mentioned on more than one occasion that you wanted to see the Canadiens keep Kotkaniemi in Finland for at least another year before bringing him up. When you take a look at Slafkovsky, and I know you just told us he's young, and you're right, but the fact that he started very slow, and then his second half of the season was awesome. And then this season, the first season, pardon me, it was an average season, ends with an injury. And then last season, he starts slow. Then he picks up his game in the second half. Then this season, it's been a roller coaster up and down. I know you said it's normal, and I know you said he's young, but I'm wondering what your take was when you found out that Slafkovsky was going to be entering the National Hockey League at age 18. And whether or not now you look back and you're wondering if it was the good decision that was made to bring him in right away at 18
I
years
don't
old.
think it was a good decision. I said it at the time, and I still don't think it was a good decision. I think he should have gone back to Finland and played with TPS and had his game grow. I think he should have played with Slovakia at the World Junior Tournament. Those were experiences that I think would have really benefited him. Now, we can debate, did it hurt him? I'm not even looking at if it hurt him. I'm looking at what could have benefited him to a greater extent. That's why I say it. Listen, you had Chris Nyland on the other night. You know what he said? He said the Canadiens need more men. This is a league of men, not boys. And I don't care if you're the first overall pick. I don't care if you're 6'4", 220. Juraj Slafkovsky is still a boy in a man's league. And people better realize that. And you can say roller coaster. You can say, he struggled. It's to be expected. This is what happens.
Well, you know what happened for the Canadiens early on in the season was that Cole Caufield scored early and he scored often. And he scored on the power play quite a few goals too. And in the last couple of months, he slowed down, which I think we all expected him to as well, because he was on a pace to score like over 100 goals in the season. And you don't usually keep that up. But I want to bring up a graphic, which was prepared by the boys over at TV Sport. Cole Caufield From goal scorer to passer, it says his stats per month. Month of October, 11 games, 10 goals and 1 assist. Month of November, 4 goals and 5 assists. Month of December, in 8 games thus far, 3 goals and 6 assists. You see this, you think what?
I think that it's exactly what he did last year. He rounded out his game. He became a multifaceted offensive player. That's what Marty St. Louis wanted him to be.
Yeah.
I heard complaints about Cole Caufield not having a good season last year. I think Cole Caufield had a great season last year, with the 28 goals. I mean, his shots were in the top 10, and you understand that he's an elite goal scorer. What Marty wanted to do with Cole is get him to be not a one-trick pony. And that's where Cole has developed his game. So what do I think is? Just progressing, continuing to do the things that will allow him. Listen, you can't. When teams take away like that part of your game, what are you going to do? Not do anything else? You're just going to say, "Well, I don't have that thing. I can't do anything." That's what it is. Tony, when you're building a house, okay, you need the framers, you need the finished carpenters, but you got to be able. If you're the electrician, you're not asking the electrician to come in and be the plumber, and you're not asking the plumber to be the electrician. It's very different. But in hockey, the more you can do, if you can do the plumbing and the electrician and everything that goes with it, you can be good. But you can't just say, "Oh, not my job. I'm not the plumber. I'm not going to work on the plumbing." That's not how it works in hockey.
Yeah,
and that's where Cole has developed his game. I think he's been terrific.
The power play last night was unbelievable once again. And Patrik Laine scored his 3 goals from the office that Cole Caufield accustomed us to early on in the season, which was the left side, a right-handed shot, setting up for the one-timer. They have moved Cole around now, and he's more around. He's on the opposite side, and he's getting less shots on goal on the power play. But the shots that Laine does take, he's scoring on the power play. Once again, he's got 6 power play goals in 7 games. I would imagine the addition of Laine as well, just there, the production's going to go down from Cole Caufield as far as goals are concerned.
Well, he's got 17 goals. He's amongst the leaders in the National Hockey League. The Montreal Canadiens offensively needed to improve. And with that, the power play needed to improve. That's where getting Patrik Laine helps. You take some of the burden and the pressures off of Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. That's another part of having Patrik Laine. It's another part of the disappointment. Maybe disappointment's the wrong word. Disappointment's the right word. With Alex Newhook and Kirby Dach, who just they're just not scoring. They don't look dangerous. There's the odd game. You see an odd stretch here where they look dangerous. For the most part, they haven't been dangerous. And so now you got fewer players that are being able to provide the offense. Well, that affords an opponent a lot better opportunity to zero in on those guys. But 7 games Patrik Laine's played. 7 games with this group. The best days are ahead. And the best days with that power player ahead. Cole Caufield's going to get more comfortable understanding how to work off it. And what you want to be, and I say, when you can have multiple points of attack offensively, especially on the power play, you become a really, really difficult team to stop.
Yeah.
And that's where they're at.
Yeah. Pierre Maguire was saying last night, he said, listen, yes, Laine's shot is unbelievable. Yes, it's lethal. Yes, he's a big-time goal scorer. You couldn't believe the amount of time and space the Buffalo Sabres were giving Patrik Laine on that power play, though. And we know the Canadiens are a man up, of course, being on the power play. But everyone also knew that the Canadiens' game plan was to get that puck to Patrik Laine on the one-timer, and he would let it go. And Pierre talked about the 2010 Montreal Canadiens and Roman Hamrlik and Jaroslav Spacek and Hal Gill and the Canadiens blocking all kinds of Alexander Ovechkin shots before they can get to Jaroslav Halak, who was in goal in the playoffs. And it's funny because Lindy Ruff actually was livid about that at the end of the game. He could not believe that his team were giving Laine the space that he had on the power play. Craig, we talked about the Sabres struggles, I think, briefly last night with Max and Pierre. But I'd love to hear you talk about this team because they went in a rebuild I don't know how long ago. And there's a sector of the Montreal Canadiens fan base that are very worried. And they're very worried with this rebuild, because the rebuild has worked out for some teams, but for teams like the Buffalo Sabres, it is not. And it looks like they've been in a rebuild forever. Talk to me about A, what do you think is going on in Buffalo? B, what has happened to their rebuild? It's about 12 or 13 years. They're a terrible team.
13 years out of the playoffs, on the way to 14 years out of the playoffs. So I'm just going to zero in on this team and what I think their biggest issue is. Inexperience in the management office, massive inexperience in the management office. I like Kevin Adams. I think Kevin Adams is an intelligent guy. He came into this job with zero experience. He was running the hockey academy for the Buffalo Sabres, and then they jettisoned about 25 people out of that operation. So and then go look. Essentially inexperienced people that have never been part of it, never been around it. Well, what I say to you is good luck. Like, and if you want to have somebody grow and you want somebody to grow in the job and everything, right? Wouldn't you want to have people that could mentor him? Wouldn't you want to have people that could give him guidance and give him some advice? Yeah, the answer is yes, but they haven't done that. That starts right with the owner, bottom line. And so Terry Pegula, who loves the Buffalo Sabres, and by the way, has had big-time success with the Buffalo Bills. He should evaluate what his process was with the Buffalo Bills and try to understand what needs to happen with the Buffalo Sabres. And they have inexperienced players. Yeah. Like, good luck.
A lot of people believe Pegula came in for like less than 45 minutes to Montreal. By the time his plane landed, and he left Montreal, was 2 hours. He went straight to the Bell Center. He went in, he talked to his GM, his coach, his players, boom, he left. A lot of people believe it was just optics, right? To try and tell the people of Buffalo, hey, I don't only care about the Buffalo Bills. I care about the Buffalo Sabres too. Supposedly or reportedly, the message that he gave them was, you know what? The solution is within the room. You, the GM, I believe in you. You, the coach, I believe in you. You, the players, I believe in you. After last night's performance, I wouldn't believe in them way too much. But I have to ask you this because you talked about the inexperienced Kevin Adams. And by the way, I agree with you. And I think you're spot on. I mean, Kevin Adams might have all the best intentions in the world, but he would not be the GM of my hockey team if I wanted to win a Stanley Cup, number one. Number two, on the other hand, Lindy Ruff, the head coach, has a ton of experience. I think he's in the top 3 or 4 coaches in the history of the National Hockey League for the most games behind a bench. Having said that, would you have brought him back for a second stint?
See, I had no problem with Lindy Ruff coming back for a second. He led the New Jersey Devils to 112 points 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Very current, very involved. And if you look at what he did with the New Jersey Devils, you could sit down and say, well, the Buffalo Sabres were in a similar spot. They didn't have goaltending last year. They ran into some injuries on the blue line in New Jersey, and Lindy paid a price. So I honestly, I'm not going to revise it. I didn't have any issue with Lindy Ruff, but Lindy Ruff came out the other day and he said, this is the hardest solve I've ever had to do. So why don't we just go look around and try to understand what Lindy Ruff is doing. Inexperience in the management executive office. Inexperience other than Lindy Ruff, coaches with very little NHL experience. So where does Lindy turn to? Like, we should do this, we should that. Lindy's been around success, and he's had lots of success. I don't think it's about Lindy. I think it's all about how they've structured this. So if you want to go along and say, geez, we really like Kevin, just be patient because this is what's going to happen. But they have failed Kevin Adams too, because they have not put people in place that can mentor him and give him advice. It is a extremely inexperienced group in there.
Yeah.
And you're trying to find, all the other managers are trying to take advantage of you.
I want to talk to you about a player on that Buffalo Sabres team that can help a lot of teams in the National Hockey League. I think at one point I read somewhere on the internet, Dylan Cousins trade rumor. I saw your name. I said, it can't be Craig Button because he doesn't do that insider stuff. Actually, it's Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet who said on his podcast, 32 Thoughts, he said, all right, some other stuff. Buffalo's getting calls on Dylan Cousins. This would terrify me if I were the Sabres. Vultures circling overhead while player and team struggle. Right shot center, 23 years old, 2 years removed from a 30-goal season. He's also signed for 5 more years at $7.1 million average, helping his value. I would be very, very careful with this because he's legitimately wanted. Give me your scouting report on that player. And if you were a team that wanted to be a contender for several years to come, and you had the opportunity to acquire Dylan Cozens, but he comes at a price tag of $7.1 million per season until the year 2030, would you go for it if the price was right?
If players are playing good luck getting them. That's the way it works in the National Hockey League. And if I was a manager in the National Hockey League, I'd be phoning Kevyn Adams 3 times a day. Before breakfast, before lunch, and before dinner. And I might even give him a late night call. And I'd be asking him about Cozens and Thompson and Tuck and Bowen Byram and Owen Power. I would be trying my very best to try to get the players like that out of their group. That's what I'd be doing. And so absolutely, if a manager is not phoning Kevyn Adams every day, they're failing at their job. It should come as no surprise that managers are phoning the Buffalo Sabres. So now, if you're looking at any of those guys, Dylan Cozens is 23 years old. Dylan Cozens, the workhorse from Whitehorse. He drives play. He's a competitor. You put him in a right situation. Oh, why don't we look back at what the Buffalo Sabres have done? They had Ryan O'Reilly. They didn't like the fact that he thought it was a losing atmosphere. So they traded him, and he won the Conn Smythe Trophy and the Stanley Cup. Oh, Jack Eichel didn't like it either. Superstar. Oh, he goes to Vegas, leads the playoffs in scoring. They win the Stanley Cup. Oh, Sammy Reinhart. We drafted him 2nd overall. We don't really like him. We'll just send him down to Florida. And, oh, lo and behold, 50-goal scorer goes and does. The problem is not the players. And the problem is they've acquired good players. They do not have the people in place that can take that group of players and create. It's like a puzzle. Like, you got to fit the pieces in. They don't have players that are older and wiser. The management office doesn't have players that are older and wiser. And Lindy's looking around going, where do I look to? Who can I talk to about this? Like a manager not phoning Kevyn Adams every day is failing. There's too many good players in there, and based on their history, I'd be in there every day, like I told you, trying to get one or more of those players out of there.
So Dylan Cozens was a first-round pick, 7th overall, the same draft year as Kirby Dach, who was a first-round draft pick, 3rd overall. Speaking of Dach, it's even another game, even against the woeful Buffalo Sabres. Now, the good thing is they didn't need Dach last night because they were able to win without him. You know, there's games when obviously they lose. You take a look at his production or lack of thereof a lot closer. They didn't need him to score last night, but at the same time, it's still concerning that he couldn't get his game on track versus the woeful Buffalo Sabres, who once again have lost 11 games in a row. Where do we go from here on Kirby Dach? Like, where do we go from here? Like, you wait, but you keep waiting, and the more you wait and the more he plays, everyone looks bad. Where do we go from here?
The first thing I would do with Kirby Dach, number one, I've talked about the patience coming back from that significant knee injury. I use Connor Brown in Edmonton as an example. What I would do with Kirby Dach, I would have him killing penalties, and I would have him playing down in the lineup. You might want to ask me, why would you have him kill penalties?
I was just, you know what? I was actually just, I'll make you tackle that in a sec. I was just thinking of putting him down in the lineup to give him better matchups, to make him go up against other teams' fourth lines, to make him go up against other teams' third pairing defensemen. He should be able to do well in those situations.
Yeah, well, but you're trying to give him an opportunity to find that level of play. So that's why I would put him down in the lineup. And I would put him on the penalty kill because you got to work on the penalty kill. You got to work. You got to dig in and work. If not, you're fishing pucks out of your net. I would do those two things with Kirby Dach.
So the penalty kill again to
you got to work if you're on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
You got no choice. You got to work.
Yeah.
You got to work. You got to block shots. You got to dig in. So you force players to play on the penalty kill, and you got to dig in.
Yeah. Listen, I hear you. It's an interesting observation because, you know, on the penalty kill, you put guys, like you said, work. You put guys that are willing to sacrifice their bodies. You put guys that are willing to give that second effort. He hasn't shown that this year. But if you put him in that situation, you're now giving him a challenge. And it's also if he doesn't do it, it's going to be there for everyone to see, right? He's really going to be put on the spot.
Well, you're trying to help him. That's why you put him down the lineup, and you're trying to get him engaged and in an area of the game. And okay, so he's not scoring. So how do you get a player to start to feel that he can contribute in other areas? A good penalty kill can accomplish that, as well as the other things that I talked about.
Okay, let's give a shout out if we can. Right here to Betway, because you can go all the way with Betway and get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. Your offer is only available for new customers, by the way. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Here's Marty St. Louis on the team bringing their best early on last night.
I think the focus, I think everything that's transpired the last couple of days, we kept our focus on what we're going to do. You never know what to expect. There's no easy game. There's different circumstances sometimes and stuff, but I just felt like we brought our game right away. I think we brought our best early, and I felt we had some dips throughout the game, but I felt we brought our best back, and so it's a good game.
That's an important win for the Canadiens, Craig, because even though everyone beats the Buffalo Sabres, let's be honest, if your objective is to be in the mix, you can't afford to lose to the Buffalo Sabres or even drop any points. I mean, you're playing Buffalo, you got Detroit away and then home Friday, Saturday. You're going to be in Columbus on the 23rd on the Monday. And then you finish off the month of December in Florida on the Saturday the 28th, in Tampa on the Sunday the 29th, and in Vegas on the Tuesday the 31st. That was a must-win game for the Montreal Canadiens, and it was no problem.
Well, and again, to Marty's point, we started early and we went after it. Then the game isn't tilted in your favor for 80%, 70%, 60% of the time. So there are going to be those moments in a game where the opponent pushes at you and carries a little bit more play than you would like, but it's how you withstand that. And Marty St. Louis has been talking now about process and getting the players into a mindset and the team into a mindset of like, how do you take control of a game? How do you stabilize yourself when the other team is pushing at you? And I think that's where Marty and the coaching staff can be encouraged, because that's what they're seeing. And to your point, Tony, being able to take advantage of weaker teams, you got to do that. You got to do it.
A couple of more things I want to get to in what will be an abbreviated edition of the Sick Podcast tonight. Why not? I mean, we went overtime big time with a 90-minute post-game podcast last night, but I want to bring up this point comparison, Lane Hutson with the rest of the defensemen in the National Hockey League. With 2 more assists last night, Lane Hutson in his rookie season with the Habs, 1 goal, 21 assists, 22 points in 31 games, 15 in points among NHL defensemen, 20 years old. Ages of defensemen with more points than him: Bouchard 25, Carlson 34, Yossi 34, Pionk 29, Wallman 28, Fox 26, Hedman 34, Theodore 29, Gostisbehere 31, Morrissey 29, Werenski 27, Hughes 25, and McCarr 26. Those are some pretty big names, and that's pretty impressive to be able to do that at just age 20.
I have said this to you a number of times. I have watched Lane Hutson play for a long time. I have seen no level of competition that he has been unable to excel at. And guess what? Is there a league higher than the NHL?
No.
I guess, well, we'll have to wait till the Olympics, I guess, or real good international play. Lane Hutson at every level has excelled. There's no level. No level.
Am I crazy to think he's a superstar already?
Yes. That's premature.
You think he will be?
He's got every chance to be.
He handles the puck like a superstar. He sees the game like a superstar. His creativity is of superstars. His imagination, his vision. I love when.
You remember when Chris Chelios came into the league?
I do.
And he was brilliant. Played at the Olympic team.
Yeah, he used to switch hands.
He wasn't a superstar until he got some miles on him. Leonard Robinson was a superstar. He didn't become a superstar until he got some miles on him. Do I think that Lane Hutson can become a superstar? I do, but he's not at that level now.
Chelios used to switch hands every now and then, bring it from right to left and take a shot. I think he even scored a goal once like that. It was unbelievable. But anyway, I don't know if you remember if he did or he did. Okay, let's end with Ivan Demidov. Take a look at this picture. All right, there you have it. Nick Bobrov, Kent Hughes, Vinny Lecavalier, and Mr. Rodenberg, the head coach of SKA. They met yesterday. They went to watch Demidov play. We know that on several occasions, Demidov, like his ice time is all over the place. Sometimes he gets a lot of minutes. Sometimes he doesn't get a lot of minutes. Sometimes he's on the fourth line. Sometimes he's the 13th forward. Sometimes he gets benched for the second or the third period. And the head coach yesterday of SKA said, really grateful that the Canadiens made their way down. That's a very, very long trip for them. We're definitely going to take the time to meet with them and talk to them. We'll talk about, the way we play, the way they play, some of the similarities, the way we train, the way they train, some things in development. We'll talk about the development for Demidov. And you know what? We're willing to negotiate with them. I don't know if that word was taken out of context and negotiate in terms of his playing time, his development, some of the things. But can it be that negotiate to get him out of Russia, considering that they don't play him all that much?
Well, get him out when? I mean, Michkov had 3 years on the contract. He got out after 1. I don't know what they're negotiating. I'm not going to speculate. I know this from being in the NHL and with management. You start telling other teams how they should run their teams, you're going to have lots of problems. So I think that dialogue and communication is good. I think that for the Montreal Canadiens to go there and to hear what Roman Rottenberg and SKA have to say and how they see Demidov, and then for SKA and Roman to understand, what the Montreal Canadiens would like to do. One of the things that you got to keep in mind, and I think it's really important from a cultural point of view, Russians are perfectionists. Russians want to be they have great pride in what they do, and I'll just talk about hockey here. Great pride, so they want to be really good, and they want to show that they're really good, and that is the same goal that SKA has for Demidov. They don't want Demidov to come to the NHL and fail or to struggle. Mm-hmm. They want to make sure that he's ready to come over here. And so that's part of the cultural aspect of this as well, Tony. And I think that, to have that communication back and forth and understanding, where Ivan is at. And sometimes, you might look and go, I don't know, maybe that's just the way it has to be. You might not like it. It might not be the way you would want it. The bottom line is the Montreal Canadiens do not have a say in how SKA runs their program.
No. They do have a say in how they're going to run their power play when they do get Ivan Demidov. And Matt, think about this. Lane Hutson, Nick Suzuki, Cole Caufield, Patrik Laine, Ivan Demidov.
I think they could have 2 good ones because you can have Slafkovsky, and then you start to look at some other players that might be able to. Bottom line is they're building for the future, and that future looks good.
And the podcast always looks good with you on it, Craig Button. Thank you very much, my man. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Tony.
You're very welcome. All right, there you have it. Craig Button of TSN, their hockey analyst, the director of scouting. Special thanks to all of our sponsors, of course, who sponsor the podcast. I'm talking about Energy Transportation Group. I'm talking about Tibi. I'm talking about Playground. I'm talking about Souvlaki Authentique. And I'm talking about Betway. Special thanks to Shane Gaumont and Master Control. And to all of you, if you like the podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review. It's our way of feeling the love. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.